It was just supposed to be another Fortnite update. The patch notes were routine. Bug fixes, a few new skins, maybe a minor map change. But when the update dropped, it brought something far darker, something that shouldn't have been there. Ethan, a dedicated Fortnite player, eagerly downloaded the patch. As the game loaded, the familiar Fortnite logo glitched, flickering violently before showing something disturbing. A quick flash of a blood-soaked face, pale and hollow-eyed, staring directly at him. It was gone in an instant, leaving Ethan wondering if he had really seen it at all. Once in the game, Ethan noticed a new location on the map, an ominous forest shrouded in thick fog. There was no mention of it in the patch notes, and the area's name was just a string of garbled characters. Curious and a bit unnerved, Ethan decided to drop there. As he descended, the forest came into view, dark, twisted trees, their bark slick with what looked like blood. The air was heavy, thick with an iron scent that turned Ethan's stomach. At the center of the forest stood a massive, decrepit mansion, its windows shattered and its walls oozing with a dark, viscous liquid. The ground around it was littered with what looked like bones, but in the low light, Ethan couldn't be sure. Ethan landed near the mansion, his feet splashing into puddles of thick, red liquid. He raised his weapon, feeling a deep sense of dread. The mansion's door creaked open as he approached, revealing a dark hallway lined with portraits, each one depicting a twisted, tortured face frozen in a silent scream. The eyes of the portraits followed him, their expressions seeming to grow more agonized with every step he took. The house was deathly silent, save for the distant sound of dripping liquid, thick, heavy drips that echoed through the halls. Ethan noticed something strange about the walls. They were moving, bulging out as if something beneath the surface was trying to break free. Suddenly, the wall near him split open with a sickening squelch, and a torrent of blood gushed out, splattering across the floor and coating his screen in red. The blood didn't disappear like usual game effects. It lingered, thick and congealed, as if it were real. Ethan wiped his screen in a panic, his heart pounding in his chest. That's when he heard it, a low, guttural growl, followed by wet, crunching sounds coming from deeper within the mansion. Compelled by a mix of terror and morbid curiosity, Ethan crept toward the sound. He reached a large dining hall, its long table covered in rotting, mutilated corpses of Fortnite characters. They were twisted into unnatural positions, their limbs bent at impossible angles, their faces contorted in eternal agony. The walls here were smeared with blood, and the ceiling dripped with it, creating a sickeningly wet, rhythmic sound. In the center of the room stood a figure, a grotesque, hulking creature with its back turned to Ethan. It was feasting on one of the bodies, ripping chunks of flesh from the mangled corpse and devouring them with horrifying slurping noises. As Ethan approached, the creature slowly turned to face him. Its face was a nightmare. Pale, stretched skin barely clung to its skull, and its eyes were deep, hollow sockets filled with writhing maggots. Blood dripped from its gaping mouth, where jagged, broken teeth jutted out at odd angles. It grinned at Ethan, a grotesque parody of a human smile, revealing more of the pulsing, blackened flesh that filled its mouth. Ethan tried to back away, but his character wouldn't move. The creature lunged at him with unnatural speed, its claws tearing into his avatar with a sickening crunch. Ethan screamed as he felt a searing pain in his own chest, mirroring the damage on screen. He looked down in horror to see deep, jagged gashes opening up in his own flesh, blood pouring out and soaking his clothes. Desperate, Ethan tried to quit the game, but the controls were unresponsive. The creature on screen ripped into his character's chest, tearing out ribs and organs with gleeful abandon. Ethan's vision blurred as the pain intensified, his body convulsing violently in his chair. Just as he thought it couldn't get any worse, the creature stopped and stared directly at the screen, its maggot-filled eyes locking onto Ethan's own. It spoke in a guttural, raspy voice, the words sending icy dread through his veins. "You're next." Ethan's screen went black, and for a moment, there was only silence. But then, the blackness shifted, and a reflection of Ethan's own bloodied face appeared on the screen. The game wasn't over. He was still in it. His character was now part of the dining hall, one of the mutilated corpses on the table, his face frozen in a silent scream of agony. Ethan's vision dimmed as he felt his body give out. The last thing he saw before his eyes closed was his own mangled form on the screen, surrounded by the twitching, rotting bodies of his fallen opponents. The next morning, Ethan's body was found slumped over his desk, his chest torn open, his face locked in an expression of unspeakable horror. His computer screen flickered, the game still running, but instead of the Fortnite logo, there was a blood-red message, dripping with fresh gore. "You're next." Somewhere in the depths of Fortnite's code, the mansion still stands, waiting for the next player to wander in. And when they do, the blood-soaked horrors within will be all too real.